Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday, February 4th. And let's give a shout out to Marissa Callie, my awesome producer. Using AI, she created these really nice soundtracks to kind of get us ready today for our session. So thank you, Marissa. Burnout to Balance, episode 87. How can you prioritize and thrive in 2025? Well, I'm going to start this show in an unorthodox way, and I'm just going to ask you to take 3 deep breaths because there is a lot of tension and burnout and exhaustion happening right now in the world, in the zeitgeist, between the new administration in Washington, D.C., and the economics. The stock market is a little bit volatile right now. I'm hearing a lot of stress out in the field. So just take a few deep breaths and follow me back to the early 2000s. I'm starting with a story time moment here so that we can get ready for today's discussion. I was in a position in the early 2000s as a senior partner with one of the world's top sales consulting companies. I was having a great time. I was traveling the world. I built a whole market throughout parts of California and had some amazing clients. And I really loved the CEO of this company I worked for. He was a real dynamo. One day, out of the blue, well before we had Zoom or Microsoft Teams, he called us all and said, "Join me on a teleconference tomorrow morning." We all got together and he announced, "I have sold the company to a large $2 billion publicly traded software company." So I'm thinking to myself, well, I will miss the old company, but I'm cashing out. I got some stock options. This is going to be great. But what really happened within just 6 months was I realized I am not a fit for this company. They're a public company. I don't want to sell software again. I did that in a previous life. I went from cash out to burnout. I lost my hair. I had insomnia. I lost my appetite. And overall, I lost my passion for my work. Fast forward to now, I want to bring to you the lessons I learned from that because I don't want this to happen to you more than it needs to. I know by talking to so many of my CMO and CEO clients that a large number of people are out on medical leave right now, indefinite medical leave due to burnout. So today, what I want to do for you, as you're hearing all of these mandates around growing revenues while reducing costs and do more with less, I want to give you, first of all, awareness around what burnout looks like and sounds like, so you can be more proactive with your people around the whole topic of burnout. And then I want to give you a planning tool to plant the seed of how you can be more confident and clear about your priorities so that you don't feel overwhelmed and overburdened. So as we go along, be sure to put your comments in the chat because I'm very glad you're here, and know that we will have this also available wherever you get your podcasts. So let's talk a little bit about, whoosh. What is burnout? What is burnout? I think it's important, as we're going to see here on some of the slides that we brought today. Burnout is, first of all, a loss of energy, focus, and enthusiasm. It's usually caused by one of 3 things. Number 1, you're doing too much. Number 2, you're doing it for too long. And number 3, you're getting too little recognition. So it's a loss of energy, focus, and enthusiasm caused by doing too much for too long and too little recognition. I get asked a lot, well, why am I dealing with burnout? Well, this is a major industry. If you go back to the day 25, 28 years ago when Dr. Stephen Covey was still alive, and he created a whole multi-million dollar business around his book, which was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Then came along David Allen, who built also a great empire around productivity with his book, Getting Things Done. We then realized, you know what? We've got to watch out for industrial age productivity at all costs. Maybe what the answer is what Professor Cal Newport talks about, which is slow productivity. How can we do less but do it well? So if you're part of the business community for more than the past 5 years, you've seen this evolution of how we view productivity and how we value people and what we consider to be productive. And we're in a very, very uncomfortable time, because if you also look at the deleterious effects of social media and technology, whether you look at social media, generative AI, or just our always on culture, I see some unfortunate damage that's also there that's causing burnout, which is really highlighted very, very eloquently in Dr. Anna Lemke's book, Dopamine Nation. Dr. Lemke runs Stanford University's addiction clinic. And, she talks about how we are so focused on dopamine stimulation through social media and influencers that we need a break from our modern lives. So unfortunately, we are seeing an increase in loneliness and addiction. But then there are also other causes of burnout that if you are a leader and you're listening to this show, you need to start to keep an eye out for these behaviors, not only in yourself, but also in your team members. And I'll show you some of those now. And keep in mind that these are observed behaviors that I'm talking about. And it comes with a caveat, which is I am not a licensed medical professional. However, if you're a leader, you have to be able to at least observe and spot certain behaviors that could lead to much more costly problems later on in terms of turnover or disengagement of your people. First of all, fear cultures. When I worked for a software company many years ago, there was a culture of fear. And the CEO at the time was very clear that if you were not part of the team generating sales revenue, your job was just not that important compared to the sales and marketing teams. There was that general attitude. The other causes that you already know, one is we're so busy, we don't take a moment to recognize people and celebrate when someone does something well. How many of you listening to this actually go and catch people doing something right and recognize them for it? I'm in a community with a gentleman who teaches companies how to build recognition systems. His name is Christopher Littlefield. It's very interesting because I grew up in a culture in the corporate world where I was paid to look for problems and fix problems. In reality, we also have to look and catch people doing things right. I just recently did webinars for one of my e-learning clients, and I knew this topic was very popular when we had 1,381 people sign up for this webinar. So one of the interesting things that came out of that conversation with that very large webinar audience was a lot of them said, I'm a people pleaser. I want to say yes to my sales team. I want to say yes to my CEO. I don't want to be one of those Debbie Downers or those people that are thrown or relegated into the department of no. So that in itself can also be a cause of burnout in that you just want to make everybody happy. So you can raise your hand if that describes you. The other is the whole post-COVID meeting mania. There's the bright side and the dark side of products like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and even StreamYard, which we're using today, which is a report from Microsoft said that the volume of meetings that happened that got scheduled after COVID hit went up something like 192%. Now, does more meetings translate into more productivity? Probably not. And then finally, long periods of intensity. I would rather not discuss politics right now. However, I will use the current United States president as an example. He is known to be somebody who makes lots of announcements and keeps people on their toes. Constant, intense announcements, press releases, executive orders, the frenetic, constant barrage of news and drama is a recipe not only for confusion, but also for burnout. And then finally, the Jensen effect. What do I mean by the Jensen effect? Well, some of you may have seen the keynote address from Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, who spoke at CES in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. And when he did that announcement to share all the new product launches and the improved feeds and speeds of the GPUs that are fueling so many hundreds of data centers right now, the good news is the sheer amount of innovation coming out of NVIDIA and other chip makers. The temptation here is if we expect people to be GPUs. Folks, we are not GPUs, we are human. So it's our job to make sure that we make room in our cultures and in our daily lives to have those human interactions. And don't confuse busy work with activity or effectiveness. And one thing not to do is to confuse output with outcomes. So I wanted to just kind of create the baseline of what is burnout. And number two, what are the causes of burnout that maybe you haven't thought about that might get you to be a more empathetic leader and be more proactive in how you address these things. So I want to go ahead. I'm getting some audience questions here. So I'm going to start with one of them. And this one comes from London. How do I handle burnout when the corporate office will not give us the resources to help? So in other words, you're trying to address burnout, but you're not getting the resources. This person says that corporate wants me to do the job of 3 people, and they said they would rather pay us overtime than hire people. Well, first of all, I applaud you for asking this question. It is a courageous one. And the good news is you're aware that this is not sustainable. If you're to tell me, well, this is only for the next 30 days, and then we're going to have some relief, I'd be, okay, that's one thing that we can get through, right? Because there's an end to it. There's a current state, and you're going to a future state that you hope will be better. If, however, this is the default method of how your company hires and, quote, retains people, I think this is a recipe for complete burnout and lots of people doing reporting medical leave. Indefinite medical leave is a real drain on the person, let alone the organization. So I would, first of all, be updating my resume. If this is more than just for a certain period, if it's not for a finite period of time, I would say, okay, I'm out of here. All right, thank you again for your question and for joining us today. We've got time for another question, which I'll take. And this one comes from Peoria, Illinois. Excellent. What to do if my company does not share its strategic goals? Because what do you do if you want to set priorities? You want to know what's important and what to focus on, but your company is being opaque around what's really important, right? You'd be amazed at how many times I've heard this, and it is not dependent on the size of the company. I have encountered this on several occasions where the team is guessing. They're doing guesswork around what's important, what's not. My recommendation for you is to do your best to find that information out. If you're a publicly traded company, look it up in your publicly available investor call transcripts and all of your K-1 filings, wherever you can get that information, and see if it is embedded in there. If you're a privately held company, it becomes a little more challenging. See what you can do to talk to your boss about getting that information to reduce the sheer volume of burnout or confusion that will create. The other thing is, if you can point to losses of productivity, increases in error rates, or confusion across departments, and the relative cost of those particular problems, and bring that to the leadership team, chances are that might help them be more forthcoming. So thank you for your question. All right, let's get back to the whole model that I promised to share with you today. I am going really quickly today through something that normally takes about 75 minutes. So I'm going to show you a couple of models, including an AI prompt that will help you be more intentional and strategic as you really narrow down what priorities matter. So let's take a look at a couple of examples of this. I'm going to show you something called SPM, the Strategic Priority Matrix. I use this with clients very often. Now, while you're looking at this, let me just tell you the background. An example of where I've used this very successfully just recently is I was working with a $900 million technology company based in the southern United States. And their marketing team is very lean and mean. And the chief marketing officer approached me and said, look, we're being expected to grow 17% next year. And we're going to do it with the same number of people. And we're going to do more acquisitions. How do we deal with this huge pile of projects that we have right now? It is not sustainable. My team engagement scores suck, essentially, and they showed me the engagement scores. And we want to help our people feel more confident. So showing this was a really great start. So on the x-axis, what we said is, all right, think about what's achievable. And you can draw this if you want and work along with me. What's achievable in the next 60 to 90 days? And on the y-axis, what is of strategic value? What is the highest strategic value? And so let's take a look at the entire universe of all of your projects and assignments that you're working on right now. And I had them start to make a list of all of those. And then what I said is, let's do we'll call it a listing of the criteria that make something high and to the right. And this is an example of the 6 criteria that they came up with. So, for example, they said, if we get a project request that scales customer success stories and helps us build more reference accounts, this is a strategic initiative, especially if it also is a project that allows us to leverage AI to streamline marketing processes, or maybe it's something that personalizes our messages across our top 5 vertical industries. So these are just some examples of criteria that when their people received these numerous requests from their global sales team or the CEO, they had some anchor that they could operate from, right? And start to move things along on that 2x2 matrix. Now, I know the Eisenhower matrix is not sexy and it's not something you've never seen before, but it's a great way for strategic thinkers to kind of sift their ideas, sift their thoughts. And then on that matrix, you only want to have 2 or 3 items that are up and to the right that are high strategic value. So what I'm going to invite you to do, because those are the ones that are in the pursue category, in the upper to the right, because they're something you can achieve in 60 to 90 days, and they're high strategic value to the organization. The other categories, like ones that you can achieve in 60 to 90 days, but they're really not strategic, but maybe it's an AI experiment that you want to run and see what, do a proof of concept and see what happens. Or if it has no strategic value, it's just a quick one-off, you feel like you're fulfilling an order, put it in the lower to the left quadrant and either delay it, drop it, or maybe offload it to a marketing agency or an outside agency to get it done. So I hope that was helpful. Now we're running up against our time limit today, which, this happens often, but what I'll do is I will ask you if you'd like some examples or you want a copy of the slides, send me a note to Lisa@lisanirell.com. That's Nirell, Lisa@lisanirell.com. And I will be happy to send you the slides from today's discussion, because I really want you to have no more than 4 priorities. 3 is better, so that you can reduce your burnout. And this is a great conversation starter to have a list of priority filters and to have a matrix that allows you to objectively map what really matters versus what is a distraction. So the other thing I've done is I've created and I put through a couple of different generative AI products an actual prompt. So I am going to go ahead and put that prompt up on the screen for you, but I'm just going to read you a few of the sentences. And then if you want the full prompt, again, just send me an email to Lisa@lisanirell.com. This is a way for your generative AI product to be your brainstorming partner and to help you create your priority filters. So it starts off, you are a senior strategist in a high-performing organization. You also have strong expertise in priority setting, strategic thinking, and team facilitation. Then I'm going to prompt the AI tool to pull content and insights from authors and leaders such as Cal Newport, Professor Rita McGrath, author me, Lisa Nirell, and author Gary Hamel. You know how to boost our team's focus on the right things. You are helping our team fuel growth because our activities are aligned perfectly to our company's top 3 priorities. Then you're going to ask the AI tool, please provide 10 criteria to help me identify which projects and activities align with our top strategic goals. So anyway, the prompt is available if you're interested. My goal is to not have you type it now and do all of your priority setting on the fly. This takes time, reflection, and some back and forth, some jockeying with your team members. Don't do this by yourself. And the purpose of using your generative AI product is to generate some more ideas. Or I did this for my own business, and both Claude and ChatGPT came back with some excellent filters for which projects personally I can focus on in 2025 and why. So whether you are a solopreneur or you are a marketing team or an IT team, this both this prompt and the 2x2 matrix can work beautifully together along with your final set of filter criteria to get you to step back and really prioritize, giving you more control over your day, over your energy, and over how you do your work. So as I said, this is usually about a 75-minute discussion that I moved into about 24 minutes. So I am aware that I probably went way too fast for how I could run with this, but I wanted you to have these three tools. One, the AI prompt. Two, the SPM, the strategic priority matrix. And third, the confidence to build your filters. With those three power tools, you can add more balance into your day and to your work. And, folks, that's what mindful marketers are here to do. And I really hope that I delivered on that promise today. Now, again, usually I do these paid keynotes and facilitated workshops, but given what's going on in the world right now and the number of clients who are very worried about the number of people that are leaving or taking indefinite medical leave, I said it's incumbent on me to help as many people as I possibly can. So I hope that you were able to get some great value from this today. And before you leave, if you're looking for communities who can give you feedback on your ideas, on your innovations, and on your experiments, I want to remind you that we're all gathering on May 8th and 9th at Tufts University in Boston, Massachusetts. This is our 10th cohort, The Art of Experimentation. This is designed exclusively for leaders who want to innovate more in 2025, who want to create and transform the way their teams think about experimentation, to reduce the fear around experimentation, to generate fresh ideas to better serve customers. We have companies that already confirmed from CoStar Group, AARP, North Star Technologies, Harvard Business School. Amy Edmondson is joining us. It is going to be an amazing cohort, and we have room for you. We still have some space available with the hotel that we are using, and we have a terrific faculty lineup. So make sure you go to tinyurl.com/click, that's CLIC, click 25 Boston. And if you get lost, just go to my LinkedIn profile. The banner is at the top. I have a note here from Leslie, and she put a comment in the chat, so we'll take care of that later because it's an important question around burnout. But until then, I want to wish all of you a calm, focused week ahead. Thanks for joining our 87th episode, and I look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Namaste.